We are getting closer and closer to a federal election, but in Saskatchewan this week, all eyes were on the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital. Adam Hunter covers politics for CBC Saskatchewan and joins me now. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Sam.
So when you make a guest list, you often check it over and over again. Now we go back to the beginning of the Children's Hospital. It was originally proposed by the NDP. They weren't at the grand opening this week. What happened?
Some hurt feelings, new phone, who dis was maybe the the issue there. But in all seriousness, the NDP was upset by this. Throughout the day, there was different murmurings that the NDP wasn't invited. What's going on? We checked with a few people, and it turns out that it was an oversight by the provincial government, the Minister of Health, the Children's Hospital, the Health Authority. All missed out on inviting the MLAs, the former health minister, John Nilsson from back in the day. During that announcement, some of the people that were speaking said, this is 20 years in the making, which obviously predates the Saskatchewan party, but Scott Moe got up there and thanked all the Sask party health ministers. A lot of the MCs were thanking Scott Moe and Brad Wall, and it's true that a lot of the funding and the push for this, really in earnest, came in the last several years. But Jim Ryder, the health minister, hours after this big, happy announcement, had to apologize formally to Ryan Miley, which, it didn't overshadow it, but it's not exactly what you want on that big day of the announcement. So Ryan Miley says this is part of a pattern. So earlier this year, there was some criticism by the government and the Minister of Social Services that the NDP didn't attend the sharing circles for the 60 Scoop survivors. The NDP cried foul. They said, we weren't welcome at this. This wasn't an example of us not being invited. That's not true. And so there were some hurt feelings there. And when it came to the 60 Scoop apology in the Rotunda, again, the NDP had no formal role. They were hurt by that as well. So Ryan Miley saying this is part of a pattern. The government saying this was a mistake, and they apologized in this case.
Uncomfortable.
Yes, it's one of those situations where, as I said, you have this big successful announcement. You don't want to have it be overshadowed by some little controversy.
Okay, let's move on to federal politics. Earlier this week, you had a story for us on Canada's NDP and how they are trailing behind when it comes to candidates. They said they were going to fill those slates soon, but it doesn't look like that's happening.
It's unusual for the provincial NDP. This is the birthplace of Tommy Douglas, and his, this is where sort of the NDP was born in a sense, and yet they're trailing all of the parties in nominating candidates, and we're expecting an election call any day now. Federal leader Jagmeet Singh says this is, part of the vetting process. We want to have a diverse group, LGBTQ, women, people from different backgrounds, newer Canadians, things like that, and that's why they're behind. They're, at this point, less than half of the federal ridings they have a nominee in. In Saskatchewan, like I said, they're in 5th. So to give people a sense, the People's Party of Canada, which is brand new on the scene, 14 out of 14 ridings nominated. Conservatives, 14 out of 14. The Liberals have 9. The Green Party has 12. The NDP's down at around 6 right now. There's more coming in the next few days, but that puts a lot of the candidates behind in campaigning, because when you're looking at some of these ridings where the NDP usually carries about 25% of the vote in the province, that's a big chunk. In Regina Lubin, for example, where Aaron Weir is not running and they won last time, the candidates only had about 2 months of campaigning, whereas his main competition's Warren Steinley, who's a Saskatchewan Party MLA, has name recognition. He's had more than a year. So that puts them behind, and they only won last time by about 150 votes. So the NDP had two of their 3 seats won in the last election, were 2 of the closest races in all of Canada, including the northern seat, which is like 80 votes. There was a recount. So they can't really afford to have any fewer seats, and if they don't get a lot of seats, they'll lose party status, and they need to hold on to some of those seats in Saskatchewan to keep that just the way sort of the polls are showing right now.
We have a fixed election date, so it's not like the election's a surprise.
It was not a surprise.
Interesting. Adam, lots to follow in the weeks to come. Thanks for this.
You're welcome.